The truth is, most people are terrified of being alone. The silence, the stillness. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? They fill the emptiness with distractions, relationships, and noise, always looking for something or someone to occupy their time, because the alternative is facing something far more daunting, themselves. But what if I told you that the key to strength and clarity doesn't lie in running from that discomfort, but in embracing it? Think about it. When was the last time you sat in silence without the urge to fill it with anything? No phone, no distractions, no constant noise. Stoicism teaches us that the most profound insights come from within, that in stillness we find truth. It's in those moments of solitude that you truly learn who you are. You stop seeking validation from others and start realizing your own worth. If you're ready to explore how solitude can shape your life, to break free from the need for constant approval, and to step into a version of yourself that is truly unstoppable, consider subscribing. By doing so, you're committing to a path of growth and self-discovery, one where you become the master of your own destiny. The truth is, most people are terrified of being alone. The silence feels uncomfortable, almost unbearable, doesn't it? When you remove the noise of constant interaction, there's a space, a void, that people instinctively rush to fill. They surround themselves with distractions, seeking validation from others because they fear what they might find in that emptiness. But here's the truth: solitude is not the enemy. It's the most powerful ally you can have in your quest for self-discovery. When you choose to be alone, you open the door to profound self-reflection. You begin to understand yourself in ways that constant noise and external validation can never provide. And the longer you stay in that solitude, the more you realize it's not emptiness, it's an opportunity for growth. Your thoughts become clearer, your values stronger, your goals more defined. In solitude, you begin to see that you are the most important person in your life. It's where you learn to trust your own judgments, where you find the confidence to make decisions without seeking approval from anyone. And as Carl Jung wisely said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." In those moments of solitude, you wake up to your true potential, discovering strength in silence. Choosing solitude doesn't mean you're shutting yourself off from the world, but rather you're tuning into the most essential relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. Society often equates being alone with weakness, but it's exactly the opposite. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely, it means being empowered. It's a state where you can really evaluate who you are, what you want, and where you're headed. The longer you remain single, the more you grow into yourself. You begin to realize that your happiness doesn't depend on someone else's presence or approval. You start finding joy in your own company, understanding that you don't need to rely on others to feel complete. This is where true confidence is born. It's the confidence that comes from knowing you are whole, independent, and capable, with or without anyone by your side. As you continue on this journey of self-reflection, the distractions start to fade away, and you begin to see the world differently. You stop letting the opinions of others dictate how you feel about yourself. Instead, you create your own narrative, one where you are in control of your emotions, your actions, and your life. This is where Stoicism truly begins to shine. Stoic philosophy teaches us that our external circumstances should not define our happiness or our peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. The longer you spend in solitude, the more your thoughts sharpen, the clearer your purpose becomes, and the less you're swayed by the fluctuations of life around you. You start to realize that the key to peace and happiness lies within, not in seeking approval from others, But the fear of solitude is not just about external validation, it's also about facing ourselves. Many people avoid being alone because they're afraid of what they might discover about their own thoughts, habits, and behaviors. It's easier to distract ourselves with relationships, work, or entertainment than to face the uncomfortable truths within. But when you sit in silence, you can no longer escape from your own mind. And that's a good thing. It forces you to confront your insecurities, your weaknesses, and your fears. But it also forces you to see your strength, your resilience, and your potential. And when you embrace this, you start to realize that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. This self-awareness is the key to transformation. It's what allows you to move forward with confidence and clarity. In solitude, you discover that you have everything you need to thrive. You just need to tap into it. The longer you stay in solitude, the more you start to realize something profound. You are enough. You don't need anyone else to validate your worth. This is a game changer because it's so easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation from others, especially in relationships. We often seek approval from our partners, our friends, or society at large, thinking that their approval will make us feel complete. But the truth is, approval from others is fleeting. It's based on their perception of us, not our own sense of self. When you learn to validate yourself, you free yourself from this cycle of dependence. You stop seeking validation outside and start to recognize that you are worthy, just as you are. And as Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." When you spend time focusing on your own growth, on refining your thoughts and actions, you stop wasting time on external validation. You realize that your time is better spent building yourself up, rather than seeking others' approval. This shift is powerful because it completely changes the way you move through the world. When you stop relying on others for validation, something remarkable happens. You start to attract people who value you for who you truly are, not for who you pretend to be. You stop bending yourself to fit into others' expectations, and instead, you stand firm in your own values. This attracts the right people into your life, the ones who respect you, admire you, and see you for your true worth. They don't come into your life because you seek them out, but because they are drawn to the confidence and authenticity that radiates from you. You no longer need to chase affection or approval because it naturally gravitates toward you. This magnetic quality comes from within, born from your understanding that you are enough on your own. And as you continue to embrace solitude, your standards begin to rise. You stop settling for relationships or situations that don't serve your growth or align with your values. This is where your power lies. The longer you stay single, the more you start to realize that you are the prize. You no longer accept behavior that disrespects you, that drains your energy, or that doesn't add value to your life. You become more selective in how you spend your time and who you allow into your world. You start to understand that your energy is precious and you guard it fiercely. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Instead, you focus on your own growth and development. You know that by doing this, you become the best version of yourself, and that is the greatest gift you can give to the world. This transformation is not always easy. It requires a commitment to self-awareness, self-discipline, and sometimes a willingness to face uncomfortable truths. But the rewards are immense. The longer you spend in solitude, the more you refine your mind, your body, and your spirit. You start to operate from a place of inner strength, not out of desperation or fear. You learn to trust your own judgment, to make decisions without seeking approval, and to move through life with clarity and purpose. You become untouchable because you no longer rely on anyone or anything outside yourself for validation. You have learned to find peace within, and that is the foundation of a truly powerful life. In the end, the longer you stay single, the more powerful you become. You learn to embrace your solitude, to trust yourself, and to build a life that is centered on your own values and purpose. You stop seeking validation from others and instead become the source of your own power. This is the path to true self-mastery, the path that leads to freedom, strength, and unshakable confidence. And once you walk that path, there is no going back. You become the architect of your own life, fully in control and unapologetically yourself. In a world that constantly pushes us to seek validation from others, it can be incredibly difficult to break free from the cycle of needing external approval. It's almost as if we've been conditioned to believe that our worth is only defined by the way others see us. Whether it's the praise of a friend, the approval of a partner, or the recognition of society, we grow up believing that without it, we are incomplete. But what happens when that validation is taken away? What if, for once, you stopped measuring your value by someone else's standards? This is where the power of self-validation comes into play. When you choose solitude, when you step away from the noise of the world, you begin to realize something profound. You don't need anyone's approval to feel complete. At first, it's uncomfortable. The idea of being enough for yourself, without needing someone else to confirm it, is a hard pill to swallow. But once you embrace it, your entire perception of yourself begins to shift. You stop seeking constant reassurance, and you begin to see your own worth. And that's when the magic happens. Your self-esteem doesn't depend on the approval of others anymore. It grows, fueled by the realization that you are valuable simply because you exist, not because of how others perceive you. This transformation is not just mental. It affects every aspect of your life. When you no longer depend on others to tell you your worth, you stand stronger, more grounded, and more confident. It's easy to get trapped in the cycle of seeking validation. It feels good, doesn't it? A compliment here, a nod of approval there. It gives us a temporary sense of being seen and valued. But the danger lies in making that external validation the foundation of our self-worth. Because when it's taken away, we're left with nothing but an empty feeling, unsure of who we are. It's like building a house on sand. The moment the winds of doubt or rejection blow, everything comes crumbling down. But in solitude, when the noise quiets and you are left with just yourself, you begin to understand that your worth is not tied to the opinions of others. You begin to validate yourself. This shift in mindset doesn't just change how you see yourself, it changes how you interact with the world. Instead of constantly seeking approval, you become more grounded in your own values and beliefs. Your actions are no longer driven by the need to please others, but by the need to align with your own principles. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you validate yourself, you take back control. You stop reacting to the opinions and judgments of others and start responding from a place of inner strength. You realize that your sense of worth is something you carry with you, not something dependent on the approval of others. In a way, self-validation is an act of liberation. It's about setting yourself free from the chains of external expectation. It's about giving yourself the permission to exist fully as you are, without apology or compromise. The beauty of self-validation is that it's not fleeting. It doesn't rely on the whims of others. It's permanent, grounded in the understanding that your value is intrinsic, not based on what others think of you. When you stop measuring your worth by outside opinions, you open the door to true freedom. You stop chasing external approval and start living authentically. As you begin to embrace self-validation, you notice a shift in the way others treat you. People are naturally drawn to those who are confident in their own worth. When you stop seeking validation from others, you stop chasing after things and people who don't align with your values. Instead, you attract relationships and opportunities that are rooted in mutual respect, not in the need for approval. The power of self-validation lies in its ability to make you a magnet for what is truly aligned with who you are. You stop wasting time on situations that drain you, and instead, you focus on the things that uplift and inspire you. The longer you walk this path of self-validation, the more you realize that your self-worth doesn't fluctuate based on external circumstances. You become unshakable. Life's ups and downs no longer control how you feel about yourself. Whether you face success or failure, praise or criticism, your value remains the same. This is the strength that comes with self-validation. It's the unshakable confidence that comes from within, not from others. When you stop seeking validation, you stop depending on outside circumstances to dictate your emotional state. You become your own source of stability, and in that stability, you find the freedom to be truly yourself. But this journey isn't always easy. It requires you to let go of old patterns of thinking, of old ways of seeking external validation. It requires a deep level of self-awareness and self-acceptance. But once you start practicing self-validation, you'll begin to see the incredible changes it brings to your life. Your relationships become healthier because they are based on mutual respect and understanding, not on the need for validation. Your work becomes more fulfilling because it's aligned with your purpose, not with the desire for approval. And your sense of self-worth becomes something unshakable, something that cannot be taken away by the opinions or actions of others. This is where the true power lies. Self-validation is not just about feeling good about yourself. It's about stepping into your full potential. When you validate yourself, you give yourself permission to be great. You stop holding yourself back out of fear of judgment or rejection. Instead, you move forward with confidence, knowing that your worth is already established, that you are already enough. This doesn't mean you stop growing or improving. It means that you accept yourself as you are, while also striving to become the best version of yourself. It's a journey of self-empowerment, where you learn to trust in your own abilities and value. As you continue down this path, you start to realize that you are the only one who can truly determine your worth. You are not at the mercy of anyone else's opinions or expectations. You are the creator of your own self-image, and you have the power to shape it however you choose. This realization is both liberating and empowering. It's the key to living a life that is authentic, fulfilling, and free from the need for constant approval. In conclusion, the power of self-validation is transformative. It shifts your mindset from one of dependence to one of independence. It allows you to embrace who you are without fear of judgment or rejection. And it frees you from the cycle of seeking approval from others, giving you the confidence to live authentically and pursue your goals with unwavering clarity. Once you start validating yourself, you realize that you don't need anyone's approval to feel complete. Your worth is already established, and that realization changes everything. It's the foundation of true self-confidence and the key to living a life that is truly yours. There comes a point in everyone's life when they realize they've been seeking something outside themselves. Whether it's the approval of friends, family, or a partner, many of us spend years searching for validation from others. We seek confirmation that we are enough, that we are loved, or that we belong. This constant need can be exhausting. But what happens when you stop chasing it? What happens when you let go of the idea that your worth is dependent on the people around you? The truth is, the moment you stop chasing validation is the moment you begin to experience true freedom. And it's not just about feeling better, it's about transforming the way you engage with the world. The shift from dependency to independence is not just an internal change. It starts to affect the way you interact with everyone around you. When you no longer seek validation from others, something remarkable happens. You stop being a participant in the never-ending game of seeking approval, and you begin to live for yourself. You stop bending over backward to please others, to earn their praise, or to fit into their expectations. You stop trying to mold yourself into what others think you should be, and when you make that shift, the world around you starts to shift as well. Think about it. When you're constantly seeking something from others, whether it's affection, praise, or approval, you're giving away your power. You're handing someone else the keys to your emotional state, allowing their opinion to dictate how you feel. But the moment you stop seeking their validation, you take those keys back. You step into your own power, your own authority, and that's when things start to change. When you stand in your power, when you stop looking to others to define you, you become magnetic. It's the paradox of life. When you stop chasing something, that's when it starts chasing you. People are drawn to confidence, and real confidence comes from within. It's the quiet, unwavering belief that you are enough, regardless of what others think of you. When you stop seeking approval, you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. And when you no longer need to prove anything, people begin to take notice. They see the change in you, the ease with which you move through life, the sense of peace and strength that radiates from within. They start to wonder what it is about you that makes you so comfortable in your own skin. And that right there is how attraction works. Attraction is magnetic because it comes from a place of independence. It's not about pursuing someone or something in desperation. It's about standing firmly in your own truth and letting everything else fall into place. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." It's terrifying because we've been taught to look outside ourselves for validation. But when you embrace who you truly are, when you stop trying to fit into someone else's mold, you unlock a level of confidence that is impossible to fake. That confidence is what draws people in. When you stop needing them, they begin to want you. This isn't just about romantic attraction. The shift from dependency to independence influences every aspect of your life, from your friendships to your career. People are drawn to those who don't need them. When you stand in your own power, people begin to see you differently. You're no longer the one who is chasing after their approval. You're the one they start seeking out. This shift in dynamic is not only liberating, it's empowering. You start to realize that you are the one in control of your life. Your happiness, your success, your fulfillment, all of it comes from within. You stop waiting for others to give you permission to be who you are. But it's not just about attracting others. It's about creating a life that is aligned with your values, your desires, and your purpose. When you no longer need validation, you become free to make decisions that are true to yourself. You stop compromising for the sake of others, and you start living for yourself. The beauty of independence is that it allows you to create a life that reflects who you truly are. You no longer feel the pressure to fit into the mold of what society expects of you. You start creating your own path, making choices that align with your inner truth. And that path is unique to you. The more you embrace independence, the more you realize that you are capable of creating everything you need. You don't need to rely on others to complete you, to validate you, or to make you feel important. You are complete as you are. You are the only person who can define your worth, and once you accept that, you stop seeking validation from the outside world. Your worth is not something that can be given or taken away by others. It's something that is inherent in you, and when you realize this, you become unstoppable. It's important to note that this shift doesn't mean you shut yourself off from others. Independence doesn't mean isolation. It means freedom. It means that you are no longer bound by the need for validation, and as a result, you can engage with others in a more authentic and meaningful way. When you stop seeking approval, you start building relationships that are based on mutual respect, not on the need to be validated. You no longer settle for relationships that drain you or make you feel small. Instead, you attract relationships that support your growth, that challenge you to become better, and that align with your values. As you continue down the path of independence, you begin to see just how much power you have. You start to trust yourself more, to make decisions with confidence, and to live life on your own terms. The world around you shifts because you are no longer trying to fit into someone else's vision of who you should be. You've created your own vision, and now you are living it, and that is when the true magic happens. The more you embrace your independence, the more you become the person you were always meant to be. But here's the key. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a journey of self-discovery and self-empowerment. It takes time to unlearn the habits of seeking validation and to embrace the strength that comes from within. But once you do, you realize that the only approval you ever needed was your own. When you stop seeking validation from others, you start to live with a sense of purpose and clarity. You stop chasing after things and people that don't align with your true self, and in doing so, you start to attract everything that is meant for you. You stop chasing, and the world begins to chase you. In conclusion, the transition from dependency to independence is one of the most liberating and powerful shifts you can make in your life. It starts with the realization that you are enough just as you are. Once you embrace that truth, you stop seeking validation from others, and that's when everything begins to change. You attract the right people into your life. You make decisions that align with your values, and you create a life that is authentically yours. When you stand in your own power, you stop chasing, and that's when the world starts chasing you. This is the paradox of life, and the secret to living with true freedom. There's a point in life when the constant noise and distractions begin to feel like an oppressive weight. It's as if the world is always pulling you in 1,000 different directions, demanding your attention, your energy, your time. The chatter never stops, be it through social media, conversations, or the pressure to keep up with the expectations of others. It's easy to get swept up in this chaos, to feel like you need to stay in the loop, to always be reacting to the noise around you. But what happens when you choose to step away from that noise, when you embrace the quiet and focus on what truly matters? That's when the magic begins. That's when you discover the power of solitude. Solitude has a way of cutting through the distractions. When you're alone, when you aren't constantly surrounded by external noise, you begin to realize just how much of your energy has been wasted on things that don't really matter. You start to see that the opinions of others, the judgments, the societal expectations, all of that fades away. In the quiet, you're no longer competing with anyone, no longer trying to impress anyone, no longer following someone else's idea of success. This is when you begin to truly hear your own voice, when you start to realize what you truly want out of life. It's a moment of clarity. You no longer care about fitting into someone else's mold or following the crowd. You begin to care only about your own journey. This process isn't always easy. The world is noisy, and it's hard to turn down the volume, especially when we've spent so much time responding to the demands of others. But the longer you spend in solitude, the more you begin to notice how unnecessary all of those distractions are. You start to recognize that the constant need to keep up with others' expectations isn't a requirement for your happiness or success. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The more you remove the noise, the clearer your path becomes. You start to focus on what truly matters: your mission, your growth, your future. And with each passing day, the more aligned your life becomes with your true purpose. As Carl Jung once said, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Solitude provides the space for this self-reflection. In the silence, you begin to understand who you are and what you truly want. You stop being influenced by the fleeting opinions of others, and instead you begin to shape your life based on what resonates with you at the core. This clarity gives you the ability to focus. The distractions that once seemed so important begin to fade into the background. The need to keep up with everyone else starts to lose its grip on you, and in its place, you begin to focus on building the life you truly want. This clarity doesn't just come from thinking about what you want in life. It comes from the deep work of examining your values, your desires, and your goals. As the noise fades away, you have the opportunity to really ask yourself what matters. What is worth your time? What is worth your energy? What is worth your focus? And when you begin to answer these questions honestly, that's when your life starts to align with your purpose. The more you nurture that focus, the more everything else falls into place. You stop chasing distractions and you start chasing your vision. But there's something even more powerful that happens when you embrace this solitude. Your connection with yourself deepens. You begin to trust yourself more. You stop doubting your instincts and start trusting your decisions. When you're constantly surrounded by external noise, it's easy to get pulled in 100 different directions. But when you embrace solitude, you realize that you have all the answers within you. You just needed the space to hear them. And as you tune into your own inner voice, you begin to move through life with more confidence and clarity. You start to see your path more clearly, and you begin to take the steps necessary to walk it. This isn't just about quieting the noise for the sake of it. It's about creating a life that is intentional, purposeful, and aligned with your true self. The more you embrace solitude, the more you begin to see that the distractions were never really serving you. They were just keeping you from focusing on what truly matters. And the moment you shift your focus inward, your life begins to reflect that shift. You start to attract the right people, the right opportunities, and the right experiences, because you are no longer being pulled in 100 different directions. You're focused, you're intentional, you're aligned. The power of solitude lies in its ability to help you reconnect with your purpose. It allows you to focus on what truly matters. The more you embrace this clarity, the more you begin to see the truth of your situation. You stop pretending to be someone you're not to meet other people's expectations. Instead, you begin to honor your own vision for your life. Your growth becomes the priority, and with that priority comes the natural unfolding of your potential. You stop reacting to the world around you, and you begin to create your own world. As you continue to embrace solitude and quiet the noise, something magical happens. You begin to grow in ways you never thought possible. Your mission becomes clearer. Your goals become more defined. And because you are no longer distracted by the expectations of others, you can focus on what truly matters, your purpose. You begin to understand that your time is your most valuable resource, and you can choose where to invest it. No longer do you need to worry about pleasing everyone else. Instead, you pour your energy into building a life that feels true to you. And this is where the real transformation happens. As you continue to focus, as you continue to silence the distractions and align your life with your purpose, you begin to realize just how powerful you are. Your clarity brings strength, your focus brings power, and the more you nurture this focus, the more your life aligns with your true purpose. It's not a matter of trying to keep up with everyone else. It's about creating a life that's uniquely yours. The more you embrace solitude, the more you embrace your own power. The distractions fade, the noise quiets, and you are left with only what matters: your mission, your growth, your future. And in that space of quiet, you find the strength to become the person you were always meant to be. In the end, it's not about avoiding the noise forever. It's about learning to silence it when you need to, so that you can hear your own inner voice. It's about learning to focus on what matters, to put your energy into your mission and your growth. And the more you do this, the more you will see how the world around you begins to shift. It's not about following the crowd anymore. It's about forging your own path, guided by your own purpose. The power of solitude lies in this clarity, and the longer you embrace it, the stronger and more focused you become. When you stop seeking validation from others, something shifts inside you. It's subtle at first, but it's powerful. Your emotions no longer dictate your actions. For most people, emotions control the narrative of their lives. We let them shape our decisions, guide our reactions, and define how we interact with the world. Think about it. How often do you find yourself making choices based on how you feel in the moment? We all do it. We react to situations, to people, to challenges, and often those reactions are driven by our emotions, fear, anger, anxiety, or even excitement. But when you begin to step away from the need for validation, you take back control of that emotional energy. And that is when your life starts to transform. The reason this shift is so powerful is because it frees you from the emotional roller coaster that comes with constantly seeking others' approval. The truth is, when you base your happiness and self-worth on someone else's opinion, you're at the mercy of their moods, their judgments, and their actions. One moment, you're up because you've received praise or affection. The next, you're down because you've been criticized or overlooked. This is exhausting. It's draining, and it keeps you in a cycle where your emotional state is completely out of your hands. But when you embrace solitude and start validating yourself, you regain control. You start choosing how you react to the world, rather than letting the world dictate your emotions. The moment you stop seeking validation, you start to see your emotional world in a new light. Instead of reacting impulsively to challenges, you learn to pause. You give yourself the space to respond, not out of fear or desperation, but with clarity and intention. This is what emotional control looks like. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about learning to observe your feelings without letting them take the reins. It's about understanding that emotions are temporary. They come and go. But you, your values, your decisions, can remain constant. And this is where emotional strength comes into play. When you begin to control your emotions, you gain something that is far more powerful than any fleeting emotional high or low. You gain the ability to stay grounded. You no longer let the ups and downs of life shake you. Instead, you become like a tree in a storm, firm, rooted, and unshaken by the winds around you. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." This is the essence of emotional control. You are not at the mercy of your past, your circumstances, or anyone else's opinion. You are the one who decides how you respond, and in that decision lies your true power. This kind of emotional control isn't just useful for your own peace of mind, it's magnetic. People are drawn to those who can stay calm in the face of adversity, who don't react impulsively, who take their time to respond with thoughtfulness and clarity. Emotional strength commands respect. When others see you remain calm and collected, even in stressful situations, they notice. They respect you. They look to you for guidance because they sense that you have something they don't: control over your emotions, and by extension, control over your life. Think about the people you respect most. Aren't they the ones who don't let their emotions run wild? The ones who, no matter what life throws at them, manage to keep their cool. These are the people who don't waste energy reacting to the chaos around them. They stay grounded, focused, and determined. And this is the kind of person you can become when you master your emotions. It's not about suppressing your feelings. It's about understanding them, processing them, and choosing how to respond. It's about gaining the freedom to act based on your values, not on how you feel in the moment. This kind of emotional strength also has a profound effect on your relationships. Think about how much more stable and fulfilling your connections with others would be if you weren't constantly reacting to emotional triggers. When you stop seeking validation from others, you stop being at the mercy of their moods or opinions. You don't feel the need to impress anyone, to gain their approval, or to change who you are to meet their expectations. Instead, you can engage with others from a place of authenticity, knowing that you don't need their validation to feel worthy. And when you engage with others from this place of emotional control, your relationships become more balanced. You no longer attract people who are drawn to your emotional dependency, but those who are attracted to your strength, your clarity, and your ability to stand firm in who you are. This shift in emotional control also extends beyond relationships. It touches every part of your life. In your work, in your goals, in your personal growth, emotional control allows you to stay focused and aligned with your purpose. You stop getting sidetracked by the ups and downs of your emotional state. Instead, you learn to channel your energy into what truly matters: your mission, your growth, your vision. This is the essence of emotional strength, the ability to stay committed to your goals no matter what obstacles arise. It's the ability to remain calm and focused in the face of challenges, knowing that your success isn't determined by how you feel in the moment, but by the actions you take every single day. The more you practice emotional control, the more you begin to notice how others react to you. You stop chasing approval, and instead, you start to attract respect. People begin to value you not for your ability to seek approval, but for your ability to remain centered, grounded, and true to yourself. This respect isn't given because you demand it, but because you've earned it through your emotional strength and your unwavering sense of self. And the more respect you earn, the more powerful your presence becomes. You begin to realize that the key to true power lies not in what you can control externally, but in what you can control within. But this kind of emotional control doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey, a lifelong practice of self-awareness, self-discipline, and self-empowerment. It requires you to confront your emotions, to understand them, and to choose how you respond. It takes time, patience, and practice. But once you start on this path, you begin to see the changes. You begin to see how much more in control of your life you become. You begin to see how much more powerful, confident, and magnetic you become. And most importantly, you begin to see how your life shifts from one of emotional reactivity to one of emotional mastery. In conclusion, emotional control is not just a tool, it's a way of life. It's about taking back control over your emotions, no longer letting them dictate your actions or your reactions. It's about standing firm in who you are, no matter what life throws at you. It's about gaining the freedom to act from your values, not from your impulses. And in doing so, you begin to attract the respect, the relationships, and the life you've always wanted. So take control, master your emotions, and watch as your life transforms in ways you never thought possible. When you spend time alone, something incredible starts to happen. You begin to see life differently, no longer distracted by the noise of constant social interactions. You start to focus on yourself, your goals, your values, your purpose. This time alone, this solitude, is not just an absence of company, but an opportunity for growth. And as you grow, you begin to raise your standards. You stop tolerating mediocrity. You start demanding more from yourself, from your work, and from your relationships. This shift in mindset isn't just a change in how you see the world. It's a change in how you see yourself. When you spend time reflecting, you begin to realize that you deserve more. You start to recognize your own worth, and with that realization comes a new sense of confidence. You no longer settle for the same old patterns. The things that once seemed acceptable, whether it's the quality of your work, the level of effort in your personal development, or the way people treat you, no longer cut it. You raise the bar, and that's when life begins to align with your new standards. The impact of high standards goes far beyond personal growth. It affects the way you interact with the world. People can sense when someone has high standards. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you carry yourself. When you start holding yourself to a higher standard, others begin to see that. They recognize the change, even if they can't put it into words. This shift in your behavior, in your mindset, becomes magnetic. People in general are attracted to those who value themselves. And when you stop tolerating mediocrity, you start attracting higher quality people and opportunities. The same is true when it comes to relationships. When you're constantly surrounded by distractions and settling for whatever comes your way, you often don't realize how much you're allowing yourself to settle. But when you spend time alone, when you focus on yourself, you start to realize what you truly deserve in a relationship. You stop looking for someone just to fill the empty space and start looking for someone who aligns with your values, someone who complements your growth, not someone who holds you back. Women, in the context of relationships, can feel when a man has high standards. They can sense the difference between someone who is desperate for their attention and someone who knows his worth. It's a powerful shift. When you start valuing yourself and stop settling for less than you deserve, others will start to value you too. This is the law of attraction in its purest form. The more you value yourself, the more others will recognize that value. It's not about arrogance or entitlement, it's about confidence in who you are and what you bring to the table. As Carl Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. When you start living according to your own high standards, you stop pretending to be something you're not to gain the approval of others. You embrace who you truly are, and in doing so, you attract the right people into your life. This shift is not just about romantic relationships. It's about all relationships, including those with friends, family, and colleagues. When you raise your standards, you stop accepting behavior that disrespects you or holds you back. You stop tolerating relationships that drain you, that ask for more than they give, and that fail to support your growth. The more you value yourself, the more you recognize when someone isn't treating you with the respect you deserve. You begin to surround yourself with people who align with your values and who encourage your growth. The more you raise your standards, the more you begin to understand what true self-respect looks like. It's not about expecting perfection from others. It's about holding yourself accountable and expecting others to meet those same standards. This doesn't mean you're demanding or hard to please. It means you know what you bring to the table and you expect the same level of commitment, integrity, and respect in return. As you develop this high standard for yourself, you become more selective in who you allow into your life. You stop making excuses for people's behavior and start expecting better. And as a result, your relationships, both romantic and otherwise, become stronger, more fulfilling, and more authentic. At the same time, this shift in standards has a profound impact on your work and your goals. When you stop settling for mediocrity, you begin to push yourself to achieve more. You stop doing the bare minimum, and instead, you start aiming for excellence. Whether you're working on a project, building a business, or improving your health, you begin to set higher goals for yourself. This commitment to excellence doesn't just improve the quality of your work, it changes the way you show up in the world. People begin to notice the effort, the dedication, and the passion you put into everything you do. This level of commitment becomes infectious. It inspires others to raise their own standards and to follow your example. When you're no longer satisfied with just getting by, you start to achieve more. The more you push yourself to meet your own high standards, the more you begin to see progress. This progress builds momentum, and before long, what started as a shift in mindset becomes a way of life. Your standards for yourself become so ingrained that they shape every decision you make. You stop compromising on what you want in life and start taking bold steps toward achieving it. Raising your standards isn't just about achieving success. It's about living a life of integrity. It's about being true to yourself, refusing to settle for less than what you deserve, and committing to becoming the best version of yourself. The more you embrace this mindset, the more you begin to see how much potential you have. You stop letting fear, doubt, or external pressure hold you back. You begin to realize that the only limits in your life are the ones you place on yourself. The key to this transformation is understanding that high standards are not about demanding perfection from others or from yourself. They are about committing to personal growth and never settling for less than you know you're capable of. It's about valuing yourself so much that you no longer tolerate mediocrity in any area of your life. And as you raise your standards, you create a life that reflects that growth. One where you attract the right people, the right opportunities, and the right experiences that align with your vision. In the end, the impact of high standards is profound. It changes the way you see yourself, the way you interact with the world, and the way you build relationships. When you raise your standards, you stop settling for anything less than what you deserve. And in doing so, you become a magnet for the life you've always dreamed of. You stop chasing after approval, and instead, you start building a life that commands respect. Your standards reflect your value, and when you start to live by them, the world takes notice. Over time, as you embrace solitude and focus on your growth, something remarkable begins to unfold. You start to realize that your worth isn't tied to the opinions of others, and this realization transforms everything about how you see yourself. At first, it's subtle. You might not even notice it happening. But as you keep refining your mindset, as you continue to make self-improvement a priority, you begin to recognize your own value in ways you never did before. This isn't just about feeling good about yourself. It's about deeply understanding who you are and what you deserve. And when you understand that, you stop tolerating behavior that doesn't align with your standards. You stop accepting mediocrity in your relationships, your work, and your life. You see, most of us have spent years, sometimes even decades, chasing after approval from others. We've been conditioned to believe that our value is defined by how others perceive us. Whether it's in romantic relationships, friendships, or professional settings, we often find ourselves compromising on our values or settling for less than we deserve just to fit in or gain approval. But once you start understanding your worth, you no longer have to chase after anyone's validation. You stop bending over backward to make others like you or to meet their expectations. Instead, you begin to live for yourself, making choices that honor who you truly are. This shift doesn't just change your behavior, it changes how you show up in the world. You begin to command respect, not because you demand it, but because you've built yourself up to a point where your presence alone is enough. When you stop chasing after external validation, you start to uncover who you really are, at your core. You realize that your worth isn't something that can be given or taken away by others. It's inherent in who you are. This realization is liberating. It frees you from the need to impress, to please, or to earn anyone's approval. You simply begin to exist, unapologetically, as your authentic self. And in doing so, your sense of self-worth skyrockets. As your self-worth grows, so do your standards. You stop tolerating people who don't bring value into your life. You begin to recognize that your time, your energy, and your attention are precious resources, and you stop wasting them on relationships that drain you or bring no positive value. You stop allowing toxic people to take up space in your life. Instead, you surround yourself with individuals who align with your values, who support your growth, and who treat you with the respect you deserve. This isn't about being picky or demanding. It's about respecting yourself enough to set boundaries and to stop tolerating anything that doesn't serve your highest good. The more you embrace this shift, the stronger you become. It's not just about cutting off people who don't respect you. It's about a fundamental change in how you view yourself. You no longer compromise your values to make someone else feel comfortable. You no longer change who you are to fit into someone else's idea of what you should be. When you understand your worth, you stop settling for relationships or situations that don't align with your core beliefs and desires. You become selective with who you allow into your life, and that, in itself, is a powerful form of self-respect. The moment you stop compromising your values, you stop giving away your power. You begin to see that by honoring yourself, you not only grow stronger, but you also begin to attract others who respect you in return. This transformation doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you untouchable. And by that, I don't mean unreachable or untouchable in the sense of being arrogant. I mean that you become so rooted in your own sense of self-worth that nothing can shake it. The opinions of others, the judgments, the criticisms, they no longer have the power to affect you. When you stop compromising on who you are, you develop an inner strength that is unshakable. You become impervious to the things that used to throw you off course. The noise of the world becomes just that, noise. It no longer has the power to pull you away from your mission or your purpose. You become the rock, unmovable and firm, because you know who you are and what you stand for. In many ways, this transformation also makes you more magnetic. When you understand your worth, when you stop chasing approval, and when you stop tolerating behaviors that don't align with your values, you start attracting the right people into your life. You no longer need to seek validation because it comes naturally. People are drawn to confidence, but more importantly, they're drawn to authenticity. And when you stop pretending to be something you're not, when you stop changing yourself to fit into someone else's mold, people begin to see you for who you truly are. They respect you not because you've tried to win them over, but because you've remained true to yourself. And this is when you start to realize that the power was always within you. It just took you recognizing your worth to unlock it. It's also important to remember that this transformation is a process, not something that happens overnight. It takes time to build this kind of self-worth, especially if you've spent years seeking validation from others. But with each step, with each moment of choosing yourself over the opinions of others, you become stronger. You begin to trust yourself more. You make decisions with confidence, no longer second-guessing your worth or your choices. And as you continue down this path, you realize that your self-worth isn't something anyone can take from you. It's something that's yours to hold. And that, my friend, is a powerful realization. As your standards rise and your self-worth deepens, you begin to see the world in a different way. The people around you may start to change too. You stop attracting the wrong kinds of relationships and start bringing into your life people who match your energy, your values, and your aspirations. It's not magic. It's a reflection of who you've become. You no longer settle for less, and because of that, the world begins to meet you at the level you've set. This transformation doesn't just change your relationships, it changes your entire life. You start to operate from a place of abundance, not scarcity. You realize that there is no need to chase after anyone or anything because you are already complete, already whole, already worthy. In the end, the transformation of self-worth is about recognizing your inherent value and refusing to settle for anything less than what aligns with your highest self. It's about standing firm in your beliefs, respecting your own time, energy, and attention, and demanding the same respect from others. And once you step into this power, once you stop compromising on your values, you not only grow stronger, you become untouchable. Nothing and no one can shake your sense of self-worth because you know who you are and you know what you deserve. And in that knowing, you become unstoppable. The longer you remain single, the more you begin to see things clearly. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, being alone with your thoughts, free from the constant distractions of other people's expectations. But as time goes on, something profound happens. You start to realize that you are whole, just as you are. You begin to understand that you don't need anyone to complete you. You never did. That realization is not only liberating, but it's also empowering. It's a moment when everything shifts. You stop viewing relationships as a necessity or an obligation and start seeing them as a choice. And that shift makes all the difference. For most of us, relationships are often seen as an essential part of life. We grow up with the idea that we're supposed to find the one, that being in a relationship is the ultimate goal. Society reinforces this idea, showing us images of love and companionship as the pinnacle of happiness. But when you take a step back, when you give yourself the time and space to be single, you begin to realize something that many people never fully grasp. You don't need anyone else to define you. You are already enough. It might feel strange at first, but the more you embrace this truth, the more your vision becomes clearer. You stop seeking someone else to fill the gaps, and you start focusing on filling them yourself. You begin to realize that your worth isn't dependent on being in a relationship, and that's incredibly freeing. This clarity doesn't just change how you feel about yourself, it changes how you approach relationships. Instead of viewing them as a solution to your loneliness or a way to prove your worth, you start to see relationships for what they truly are, a choice. You realize that when you connect with someone, it should be because they add value to your life, not because you need them to feel whole. And that's when the power of choice comes into play. You begin to choose partners who align with your vision, who complement your growth, and who support you on your journey. No longer are you willing to settle for relationships that don't serve your highest good. You're not looking for someone to fill a void. Instead, you're seeking someone who enhances your life, who brings something meaningful to the table, and who shares in the same values and goals that you do. This journey of self-discovery, of embracing solitude, of learning that you are complete on your own, is what allows you to step into this power of choice. When you know who you are, when you understand your worth, you stop seeking someone to define you. Instead, you become selective about who you allow into your life. You no longer chase after validation or approval because you've already found that within yourself. And this is what makes the relationships you choose to have more meaningful, more fulfilling, and more aligned with your purpose. When you're no longer looking for someone to complete you, the pressure of relationships starts to fade away. You stop feeling like you need to settle, to compromise your values, or to force something to work just because you're afraid of being alone. You begin to choose partners who fit into your life in a way that enhances both of your journeys. You start attracting people who are on the same path, people who are equally whole and secure in themselves. These are the relationships that bring out the best in you, not because you need them to, but because they support the best version of yourself. You begin to realize that relationships aren't about filling a need. They're about mutual respect, shared growth, and a deep connection that enriches both lives. This shift is incredibly powerful because it allows you to take control of your own life. You no longer feel the need to rush into a relationship for the sake of companionship. Instead, you take your time, you focus on your own growth, and you make choices that align with who you are becoming. You no longer settle for less than what you deserve. You begin to build a life that reflects your values, your goals, and your vision. And when you do enter a relationship, it's from a place of wholeness, not neediness. You bring your best self to the table, and you attract someone who does the same. This process of learning to embrace the power of choice doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to shift your mindset from one of dependency to one of independence. It takes time to stop seeking validation from others and to start validating yourself. But the longer you embrace this journey of self-discovery, the more you begin to realize that relationships are a gift, not a requirement. They are an opportunity to grow together with someone who shares your vision, who complements your life, and who adds value to your journey. And when you reach that point, when you're no longer looking for someone to complete you, you become the kind of person who attracts relationships that are built on mutual respect, authenticity, and growth. This transformation doesn't just affect your romantic life. It affects every aspect of your existence. The more you realize that you don't need anyone to complete you, the more confident you become in your decisions, your career, and your personal goals. You begin to make choices that are aligned with your values and your vision, not based on what others think or expect. You stop being swayed by the opinions of others and start living life on your own terms. The power of choice doesn't just free you in relationships, it frees you in every area of your life. You start to create a life that reflects who you truly are, and that life becomes a magnet for everything you've ever wanted. When you stop seeking validation, when you begin to embrace your own worth, you realize that you don't have to chase anything in life. Everything you need, everything that truly matters, is already within you. The relationships you choose, the opportunities you create, the success you achieve, they all come from a place of inner strength and clarity. You begin to attract people and experiences that are aligned with who you are and who you are becoming. And the more you trust in your own power, the more you begin to realize that the choices you make shape your destiny. In the end, the power of choice is one of the most liberating things you can experience. The longer you stay single, the more your vision becomes clear. You stop seeing relationships as a requirement and start seeing them as a choice to connect with someone who adds value to your life, who enhances your journey, and who supports your growth. When you understand that you are already whole, when you embrace your own worth, you stop chasing and start choosing. And that's when the world begins to open up in ways you never thought possible. Your life, your relationships, your success, they all align with your true purpose, and the power to create that life is yours. When you begin to live with clarity and self-respect, something extraordinary happens. Your energy starts to shift in ways you might not immediately notice, but the effect is undeniable. You stop chasing after attention or seeking validation from others. This shift is subtle at first, but it becomes more apparent as time goes on. The need to impress people, whether it's through words, actions, or simply trying to fit in, begins to fade. Instead, you start to focus on something more powerful: your own growth, your own mission, your own purpose. And when you do this, something remarkable happens. People start to notice you. But here's the thing. It's not because you're trying to impress them. It's because you've reached a point where your energy is magnetic. You've stopped chasing, and now others are drawn to you naturally. There's a powerful shift in energy that occurs when you stop looking outside yourself for affirmation. When you stop needing others to tell you that you're enough, your entire presence changes. You start to show up differently in the world. It's like a transformation that starts on the inside but begins to radiate outward. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. You stop putting on a facade to gain approval or to fit into a mold that isn't yours. Instead, you begin to walk through the world with confidence in who you are, knowing that you don't need anyone's validation to feel worthy. That confidence, that self-assuredness, is like a quiet force. It's not loud or boastful. It's steady, unwavering, and it commands respect without ever needing to ask for it. When you embrace who you truly are, when you stop seeking approval and simply accept your worth, that's when the magic happens. You no longer live for the expectations of others. You live for yourself, and that creates an energy that can't be ignored. This shift doesn't require external acknowledgement. It just is. People begin to sense it without you saying a word. They feel your presence, your clarity, your drive. It's as though your energy speaks for you. It's magnetic because it's authentic. It comes from a place of true self-acceptance, and that's something people are drawn to. The beauty of this shift is that it doesn't happen because you're trying to get something from others. It happens because you've stopped seeking. You're not trying to impress anyone, gain approval, or fit into a certain image. You're focused on your own path, on your own mission. You've stopped looking outward for validation and have started looking inward, building your life based on your own values and purpose. And because of that, people around you sense a kind of quiet strength, a depth, and a confidence that is magnetic. They want to know what drives you, what makes you tick, because they can feel that you're someone who isn't swayed by the opinions of others. You're grounded, you're clear, and you're in control of your own life. This shift in energy doesn't just apply to how people perceive you. It also impacts the way you interact with the world. When you no longer beg for attention or validation, you stop investing energy in things that drain you. You stop spending time and resources on relationships or pursuits that don't align with your mission or purpose. Your energy becomes focused. You become more selective with how and where you spend your time. And because of this focus, your life begins to align with what truly matters. Your goals become clearer, your path becomes more defined, and the distractions that once seemed so important lose their grip on you. You become more powerful because your energy is no longer scattered. It's concentrated. It's directed toward the things that truly serve you. And as you start to operate from this place of clarity and focus, something else happens. Your influence begins to grow. People take notice of your energy, of your presence. They see that you are someone who doesn't chase after validation, someone who is secure in who they are. This draws others to you, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're living authentically. And when you live authentically, when you stop pretending to be someone you're not to fit into someone else's idea of you, people are drawn to your energy. They want to be around you because they sense your confidence, your clarity, and your purpose. And the best part? You don't need to do anything for this to happen. It's not about trying to impress or manipulate. It's about being true to yourself and allowing that energy to speak for you. This transformation doesn't just affect how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. The more you live with clarity and self-respect, the more you begin to understand your own value. You stop doubting yourself, second-guessing your decisions, or seeking reassurance from others. Instead, you make decisions from a place of strength, knowing that you are capable, that you are enough. You begin to trust your intuition, your judgment, and your ability to create the life you want. The more you trust yourself, the more your energy reflects that trust. It's a feedback loop. The more you trust yourself, the more others trust you, and the more powerful your presence becomes. This shift in energy is something that people can't fake. It comes from a place of deep self-awareness and self-acceptance. It's not something you can just mimic or put on for the sake of others. It comes from truly understanding your worth and stepping into your own power. It's quiet, but it's undeniable. It's the kind of energy that draws people to you because it's authentic, grounded, and real. And this energy doesn't just help you in your relationships. It helps you in everything you do. Whether it's in your career, your personal goals, or your creative pursuits. This clarity and self-respect give you the confidence to move forward, to take risks, and to pursue your purpose without hesitation. But this doesn't mean the journey is without its challenges. There will be times when you feel uncertain, when you question your path or your worth. There will be moments when the noise of the world tries to pull you back into seeking validation. But the more you focus on your own growth, the stronger your foundation becomes. The more you choose yourself and your mission over the need for external approval, the more you strengthen your energy and your sense of self. This energy becomes a guiding force, one that helps you stay on track even when things get difficult. It's a power that comes from within, and the more you nurture it, the more it will serve you. In the end, the shift in energy is about living authentically and with intention. It's about letting go of the need to seek validation and instead choosing to live for yourself. When you do this, your energy becomes magnetic. People are drawn to your confidence, your clarity, and your purpose. You become a force because you've stopped chasing and you've started living from a place of true self-respect. Your presence commands attention not because you seek it, but because it naturally emanates from the authenticity of who you are. This is the power of living with clarity and self-respect, and it's a power that, once tapped into, can transform every aspect of your life. One of the most powerful actions you can take in life is also one of the simplest: walking away. It sounds easy in theory, but for most of us, walking away can feel incredibly difficult, especially when it comes to relationships. We're taught from a young age to hold on, to work things out, to be understanding, and to always try our best to make things work. But what if I told you that one of the greatest acts of self-respect is walking away from people who don't respect you? It's not about giving up or being weak. It's about knowing your worth and having the courage to walk away from situations that don't align with your values or your growth. When you spend time alone, when you embrace solitude and stop seeking validation from others, you begin to develop a deep sense of self-worth. This newfound confidence doesn't just affect how you feel about yourself, it changes how you interact with the world. You start to realize that you don't have to tolerate behavior that disrespects you, that you don't have to settle for relationships or situations that undermine your growth. The more time you spend understanding who you are and what you deserve, the easier it becomes to walk away from people who don't treat you the way you should be treated. And the longer you remain single, the more you recognize that your peace of mind is far more valuable than any relationship or external approval. At first, it might feel like walking away is a sign of failure or that you're giving up on something important. But in reality, walking away is often a sign of strength and clarity. When you no longer need external validation, when you've stopped relying on others to complete you, you can see more clearly the people and situations that add value to your life and those that take it away. This is where the power lies. The decision to walk away doesn't require an explanation or justification. You don't need to explain your worth to anyone who can't see it. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're choosing to prioritize your own peace and growth. The ability to walk away without hesitation or guilt is one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself. When you start walking away from toxic people and situations, you stop tolerating low-value behavior. You stop accepting less than you deserve, and in doing so, you start to attract more of what you actually want in life. You set a standard for how you expect to be treated, and that standard begins to shape your reality. You stop accepting disrespect, manipulation, or any kind of treatment that doesn't align with your sense of self-worth. This doesn't mean you become cold or callous. It means that you've learned to value yourself enough to not tolerate anything less than respect, kindness, and mutual growth. Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." This is exactly what happens when you walk away. Your actions speak louder than words. Walking away is a powerful affirmation of your worth. It says, I am worthy of respect. I am worthy of love. I am worthy of being treated in a way that aligns with my values and goals. It's not about seeking revenge or making a dramatic exit. It's about maintaining your integrity, protecting your energy, and honoring your sense of self. Walking away becomes a clear boundary, one that defines what you will and will not accept in your life. As you continue to strengthen your sense of self-worth, you begin to realize that walking away doesn't just apply to toxic relationships. It applies to any situation or environment that drags you down, whether it's a job that doesn't fulfill you, a friendship that's draining, or a habit that holds you back. The ability to walk away from anything that no longer serves your growth is a powerful act of self-love. It's about making room for the things that align with your purpose, your values, and your mission. When you walk away from what doesn't serve you, you create space for what truly matters. You become the architect of your own life, one decision at a time. One of the most liberating things about walking away is that you no longer need to explain yourself. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're choosing to prioritize yourself. In fact, you'll find that the more you walk away from situations that don't respect your boundaries, the more your energy begins to shift. People start to respect you, not because you demand it, but because you've demonstrated through your actions that you respect yourself. When you walk away from low-value behavior, you show the world that you know your worth. And when you know your worth, others begin to take notice. This doesn't mean that you stop caring about people or that you become indifferent to the feelings of others. It means that you've learned the importance of self-respect and emotional boundaries. It means that you understand the value of your own peace of mind and the importance of protecting your energy. Walking away is not about cutting people off with bitterness or resentment. It's about recognizing that some people, no matter how much you care about them, simply don't belong in your life if they don't align with your values. You don't need to carry the burden of other people's negativity, manipulation, or disrespect. Walking away allows you to release that weight and move forward with a renewed sense of purpose and strength. And when you do this, when you stop tolerating behavior that doesn't serve you, when you stop seeking validation from others, and when you start walking away from anything that doesn't honor your worth, you begin to realize something profound. Your life starts to reflect your standards. Your relationships become healthier. Your opportunities become more aligned with your purpose, and your energy becomes more focused. You stop wasting time on things that drain you and start investing in what builds you up. And that is where true growth happens. When you walk away from the things that hold you back, you create the space to move forward into a life that truly aligns with your highest self. This shift doesn't come without its challenges. There will be moments when you doubt your decision, when you feel like you're letting go of something important. But as you continue to walk away from what doesn't serve you, you'll begin to see that every step you take toward honoring your worth brings you closer to the life you've always dreamed of. You stop being weighed down by toxic relationships, low-value situations, and the need to seek validation from others. You start to live with clarity, with purpose, and with the confidence that comes from knowing that you are the one in control of your life. In the end, the art of walking away is one of the most powerful tools you have in your journey of self-mastery. It's about recognizing that your peace, your growth, and your integrity are worth more than any external validation or toxic relationship. It's about walking away from anything that doesn't align with your values and choosing to protect your energy for the things that matter most. When you learn to walk away with grace and confidence, you'll discover a new sense of freedom, strength, and empowerment that can only come from knowing your worth and standing firm in it. Every moment spent single offers a profound opportunity. It's a chance to shape your identity, refine your character, and build your future. For so many, being alone can feel intimidating or uncomfortable. We're taught that relationships are the cornerstone of happiness and success, and the thought of being without a partner can feel like a void. But when you step back and embrace solitude, you realize something incredible. It's not a void. It's a blank canvas, a space for you to paint your own life, your own identity. It's not about being alone. It's about what you do with that time. And what you can do with it is extraordinary. In solitude, you are free from the distractions of external opinions, relationships, and the noise that comes from seeking validation. You no longer get lost in the chaos of trying to please others or fitting into someone else's expectations. This is your time. Time to focus on your growth, your goals, your future. The power of being single is that it gives you the space to turn inward, to ask yourself, who am I? Who do I want to become? What kind of life do I want to live? And as you start answering those questions, you begin to shape the person you are becoming. This process of self-discovery and self-shaping is what allows you to gain control over your life. No longer do you rely on others to define your worth or to validate your existence. You begin to define yourself. You create your own standards. This isn't about being selfish or disconnected from others. It's about taking responsibility for your own life and your own happiness. You realize that your identity isn't something that's defined by your relationships or your external circumstances. Your identity is something that you craft, moment by moment, choice by choice. The essence of Stoic philosophy is rooted in this very idea: to focus on what you can control and detach from what you cannot. In solitude, you begin to understand this principle deeply. You realize that the only thing you can truly control is yourself, your thoughts, your actions, and your responses. Everything else is beyond your grasp. This realization is freeing because it gives you the clarity to stop worrying about things that don't serve your growth. You stop focusing on the approval of others, on whether people like you or not, on whether you fit into someone else's image of success. Instead, you focus on what you can control, your own development. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is the core of shaping your identity. When you stop relying on others to shape your sense of self, you tap into a well of strength that comes from within. You begin to focus on building the life you want, not the life that others expect of you. And as you focus on that, you start to create something much more meaningful than just an external identity. You begin to build a life that is rooted in authenticity, a life that reflects your values, your passions, and your true purpose. In solitude, you're not only refining who you are, you're also setting the foundation for your future. When you stop seeking validation, you stop wasting time trying to live up to someone else's standards. You begin to create your own standards. This is where your growth accelerates. Every day becomes a chance to improve, to challenge yourself, and to make progress toward the person you want to become. No longer do you feel the need to live for someone else's approval. Instead, you live for your own approval. And that shift is where true transformation begins. This transformation isn't always easy, though. It requires self-discipline, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. But that's exactly what makes it so powerful. When you face the reality that you are responsible for your own life, your own growth, and your own happiness, you begin to see everything differently. You stop blaming circumstances, people, or external factors for your situation. You start taking ownership of where you are and where you're going. And this sense of responsibility doesn't just apply to your personal growth. It also extends to the way you engage with the world. As you shape your identity, you begin to set boundaries, make intentional choices, and direct your energy toward things that matter. You stop wasting time on things that drain you or take you away from your purpose. Instead, you prioritize the things that support your growth and align with your values. Your energy becomes focused, your life becomes more intentional, and as you continue to build this life, you begin to realize just how much power you have. The more you shape your identity, the stronger you become. You start to see yourself not as a victim of circumstances, but as the creator of your own destiny. Your confidence grows, not because you're seeking external validation, but because you know who you are and what you stand for. This clarity, this self-awareness, is what gives you the strength to face challenges with resilience. You begin to understand that every obstacle is an opportunity for growth. Every setback is a lesson, and because your sense of self-worth is no longer tied to others' opinions, you move through the world with a quiet strength that others can't help but notice. In the process of shaping your identity, you also learn to embrace your flaws. You no longer need to be perfect, and you certainly don't need to live up to the unrealistic standards society sets for you. Instead, you accept yourself fully, imperfections and all, and that acceptance becomes the foundation for your confidence. When you stop trying to be someone you're not, you give yourself the freedom to be who you truly are, and that is incredibly liberating. You realize that your true strength lies not in conforming to the expectations of others, but in fully embracing who you are and committing to your own growth. As your identity solidifies, your relationships begin to change as well. No longer do you seek validation from others, so you stop attracting relationships that are based on neediness or dependency. Instead, you attract relationships that are grounded in mutual respect, shared values, and authenticity. The more you shape your own identity, the more you attract people who value you for who you truly are, not for the image you've been trying to project. And these relationships become stronger because they're built on a foundation of mutual understanding and genuine connection. The longer you stay single and focus on shaping your identity, the more you begin to realize that the world is your canvas. You have the power to create the life you want, to be the person you want to be, and to design the future you deserve. Every moment spent refining yourself is an investment in the life you're building. The more you take control of your identity, the more you step into your power. And that power is not something anyone can take from you. It's yours to shape, to mold, and to direct toward your highest purpose. In the end, the art of shaping your identity is about more than just self-improvement. It's about living with purpose, authenticity, and self-respect. It's about understanding that your growth is the most important thing in your life. When you stop looking to others to define you, you realize that the only person you need to impress is yourself. And when you begin to live for yourself, with clarity and intention, everything else begins to fall into place. You stop being a passive observer of your life and start being the active creator. And that, in itself, is the essence of true power. One of the most surprising benefits of solitude, something most people don't realize until they experience it, is time. Time, that precious commodity we often take for granted, becomes yours in a way it never has before. When you're no longer distracted by the constant need to win someone's affection or attention, you begin to see the vast expanse of time that was always there, just waiting to be used. Think about it. How many hours have you spent over the years chasing after the approval of others, waiting for validation, or trying to maintain relationships that weren't adding value to your life? All that time spent on things that ultimately drain, you could have been used to focus on your own growth, your own mission, your own purpose. And the more you embrace solitude, the more you realize just how much time you truly have at your disposal. The moment you stop seeking external validation, you reclaim your time. It no longer gets swallowed up by endless distractions or the emotional turmoil of trying to meet someone else's expectations. Instead, you start to direct your energy toward what truly matters. Your mission, your personal growth, your passions, they all take center stage. You stop getting caught up in the drama of other people's lives, in their needs, in their desires, and you begin to invest in yourself. You can feel it happening. The moment you stop chasing after things that aren't aligned with your values, your time begins to stretch out in front of you like an open road, full of possibility. Every moment becomes an opportunity to move closer to your goals, to build the life you've always dreamed of, to create something that is uniquely yours. The realization that you have control over your time is liberating. In a world that is constantly pulling us in 1,000 different directions, this ability to take back your time is a form of freedom most people will never experience. For so long, we've been taught that relationships, external validation, and pleasing others are priorities. But when you spend time alone, you see how much of your energy has been spent trying to meet other people's needs, and how little of it has been spent on the most important relationship of all, the one you have with yourself. No longer bound by the need to seek approval, you begin to focus on what you can control: your own growth, your own success, your own happiness. Your time becomes yours to do with as you please. You can choose how to spend it, who to spend it with, and what projects to pour your energy into. And that shift, that liberation of time, is a game changer. This shift also brings about a change in how you value your time. It becomes a precious commodity, something you guard fiercely. Time is no longer something that slips away unnoticed. It's something you treat with respect. You begin to realize that time, once spent, can never be recovered. And because of that, you become more intentional about how you use it. Instead of spending hours on social media, engaging in meaningless conversations, or dealing with people who drain your energy, you choose to invest your time in things that align with your goals and your values. Your time becomes an asset, one that you use strategically, not wastefully. And the more you guard it, the more you realize just how much you can accomplish when you stop letting other people or distractions steal your precious moments. As you begin to protect your time, you also start to protect your peace. You no longer let people or situations disturb your focus. When you stop seeking validation from others, you start to see how much unnecessary drama you've allowed into your life. It's easy to get caught up in other people's needs and demands, but when you realize that your time is limited and valuable, you stop giving it away to people or situations that don't contribute to your well-being. You become more selective with where you invest your energy. This doesn't mean you become selfish or disconnected from others, but it does mean that you start to prioritize your time, your mental space, and your emotional well-being. You begin to create boundaries, not just with others, but with yourself, ensuring that you're not wasting your own time on things that don't serve your higher purpose. This shift in how you view and use your time also changes how you approach your personal growth. When you have the freedom of time, you can finally devote yourself to the things that truly matter to you, whether that's pursuing a passion, learning something new, or focusing on your health. You no longer feel the need to rush through life or check off boxes just to meet societal expectations. Instead, you take your time, moving at your own pace, focusing on the things that will actually bring value to your life. Time becomes a tool for your personal evolution. It's no longer something that slips away unnoticed. It's something you consciously use to grow, to improve, and to become the best version of yourself. As you continue to embrace solitude and protect your time, you also begin to recognize how much more you're capable of accomplishing. You stop spreading yourself thin, trying to meet the demands of everyone around you, and instead you focus on what you truly want to achieve. This clarity allows you to become more productive, more efficient, and more aligned with your goals. The more you protect your time, the more you realize how much potential you have to create the life you want. No longer distracted by the need to please others, you can pour your energy into the things that matter most to you. You can finally focus on your purpose and make real progress toward your goals. This shift also changes how you interact with others. When you value your time, you start to attract people who also value their time and respect yours. You stop wasting time on relationships that drain you, and you start building connections with people who share your vision and who are also focused on growth. You begin to surround yourself with individuals who inspire you, challenge you, and encourage your growth. Your relationships become more intentional, more meaningful, and more aligned with the life you're building for yourself. And here's the beauty of it all. When you stop chasing others' validation and start protecting your time, your life becomes yours. You no longer feel like a passive participant in the world. You stop waiting for things to happen to you, and you start making things happen for you. Your time, your energy, and your focus become the driving forces that propel you forward. You begin to see that the life you've always wanted isn't something that's out of your reach. It's something you can build piece by piece with the time you have right now. This sense of liberation is incredibly powerful. The more you reclaim your time, the more you begin to realize just how much power you have. Time is the one thing you can never get back, and when you realize its value, you start to use it wisely. No longer are you trapped by the demands and distractions of others. Instead, you take control of your time and use it to shape the life you want. And when you do that, you begin to realize that your life is yours to create. It's no longer about living up to anyone else's expectations. It's about living for yourself, on your terms, with purpose and clarity. In the end, the liberation of time is not just about having more hours in the day. It's about understanding that your time is yours to protect, to invest in your growth, and to build the life you want. The more you value and protect your time, the more you begin to create a life that aligns with your true self. You stop chasing after approval, and instead, you start investing in your own growth, your own mission, and your own purpose. And in doing so, you create a life that is fulfilling, meaningful, and uniquely yours. The longer you remain single, the more you start to discover a profound truth, inner peace. At first, it may feel like a fleeting sense of calm, something you only experience in moments of solitude. But as time goes on, you begin to realize that this peace isn't just a temporary feeling. It's a state of being. You learn to live in harmony with yourself. You stop relying on external factors, be it the approval, affection, or validation of others, to feel complete. This is a game changer. For most of us, the desire to be liked, to be accepted, and to be loved by others can often feel like a constant need, something that drives us throughout life. But when you stop seeking that from others, you begin to realize that true happiness, true contentment comes from within. The first time you experience this shift, it can be eye-opening. There's a quiet realization that you've been chasing something outside of yourself your whole life. You've sought approval from friends, family, or romantic partners, thinking that their validation would make you feel complete. But what you begin to understand is that no amount of external praise or affection can fill that inner void. It's not something anyone else can give you. It's something you have to cultivate within yourself. And when you do, that's when you find true happiness. When your happiness no longer depends on anyone else's opinion, when you realize that your worth is not determined by others, you start to experience a deep sense of peace. This peace, once discovered, is incredibly powerful. It shifts your entire perspective on life. You stop being so affected by external events, by what others say, or by circumstances beyond your control. You begin to move through life with a calmness and confidence that comes from knowing that you are enough, just as you are. When you are no longer dependent on the approval of others to feel whole, nothing can shake your foundation. The criticisms, the challenges, and even the setbacks no longer have the same power over you. Instead of reacting to the world around you, you begin to respond to it from a place of grounded strength. The more you focus on cultivating your own sense of worth, the less you need from the world to feel fulfilled. You stop relying on others to fill the gaps in your life, and as you do, your inner peace grows stronger. It becomes a steady presence within you, something you carry with you wherever you go. The more you look inward, the more you awaken to the fact that all the answers you've been searching for are already within you. You just needed the space and the quiet to hear them. When you no longer seek validation from others, you begin to build an unshakable foundation. Nothing from the outside world can determine your sense of self-worth. You are no longer tossed around by the opinions of others or the ever-changing tides of external circumstances. This doesn't mean that you shut yourself off from others or stop caring about people. It simply means that you stop giving away your power. You stop giving people the ability to dictate your emotional state or your sense of worth. Instead, you become self-sufficient, standing strong in who you are and what you stand for. Your happiness no longer depends on whether someone else approves of you. It comes from within. This self-sufficiency gives you the ability to move through life with confidence. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. The constant striving to meet other people's expectations fades away, and in its place, you develop a sense of peace that comes from knowing that you are already enough. You no longer need anyone to validate your choices, your lifestyle, or your goals. The decisions you make are based on your values and your vision for your life, not on seeking approval or avoiding judgment. You stop seeking others' permission to live your life. You live it on your own terms, and that gives you a sense of freedom that's hard to put into words. As you continue to cultivate inner peace, you also begin to notice something else. The world around you starts to change. You start attracting the people, opportunities, and experiences that align with your sense of self-worth. When you stop trying to impress or fit in, you create space for the right people and the right circumstances to enter your life. You no longer settle for relationships or situations that drain you. You stop tolerating behavior that doesn't align with your values, and you begin to surround yourself with people who support and uplift you. You begin to notice that the energy you give off has changed, and in turn, the world responds to it differently. The more you embrace this self-sufficiency and inner peace, the more you start to realize how much control you truly have over your life. You are no longer a passive participant waiting for things to happen. You are the creator of your own happiness, your own success, and your own peace of mind. You begin to see that you have everything you need within you to live the life you want. The external world no longer has the power to dictate your emotions, your decisions, or your worth. You take back your power, and in doing so, you create a life that aligns with your true self. This process of developing inner peace and self-sufficiency isn't always easy. It requires time, patience, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself. But the rewards are worth the effort. As you let go of the need for external validation and embrace the peace that comes from within, you create a life that is truly your own. You stop living for others and start living for yourself. And when you do that, you realize that you are capable of achieving anything you set your mind to, because you have everything you need already. You are enough just as you are. The more you nurture your inner peace, the more you realize that true happiness isn't something that can be given to you. It's something you create for yourself. You stop relying on others for your emotional well-being and start cultivating it from within. And when you do this, you become a force. You become unstoppable because your sense of self-worth is unshakable. You begin to realize that nothing and no one can take away your peace, your happiness, or your sense of purpose because they come from within. You are the source of your own happiness, and that is a power that no one can take from you. In conclusion, the journey to inner peace and self-sufficiency is not an easy one, but it is one of the most rewarding. The more you learn to live in peace with yourself, the less you rely on others for validation or affection. You begin to realize that true happiness comes from within, and that the ability to move through life with calmness and confidence comes from knowing that you are already whole. When you stop seeking external validation and embrace your own worth, nothing can shake your foundation. You become self-sufficient, strong, and unshakable, and that in itself is the greatest freedom you can ever achieve. Fear is something that most of us deal with on a daily basis, whether we recognize it or not. Fear of being alone, fear of rejection, fear of not fitting in. These fears shape the way we live our lives. They guide our decisions, limit our actions, and often keep us from pursuing the things that matter most. But here's the thing. Fear loses its grip on you when you embrace solitude. The moment you start to live for yourself, when you begin to focus on your own growth and your own path, something incredible happens. The fears that once held you back start to fade into the background. For so long, many of us have been afraid of being alone. It feels uncomfortable at first, doesn't it? The silence, the stillness, the lack of company. It can make us feel uneasy, like we're missing something. But as you spend more time in solitude, you begin to realize that there's nothing wrong with being alone. In fact, it's in these moments of solitude that you find the space to truly get to know yourself. You stop relying on others for validation, and you begin to validate yourself. As you do this, the fear of being alone slowly dissolves, replaced by a sense of peace and contentment that comes from within. Along with the fear of being alone, another fear often looms large in our lives: the fear of rejection. We fear putting ourselves out there, expressing who we truly are, because we worry that others won't accept us. We live in a world that constantly tells us to fit in, to conform, to be like everyone else. But when you embrace solitude, you begin to let go of this fear as well. You start to realize that rejection isn't the end of the world. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's simply a part of life. The more you spend time in your own company, the more you come to understand that true acceptance comes from within. When you stop seeking validation from others, rejection loses its power over you. You no longer fear it, because you realize it has no bearing on your value. This understanding is liberating. It's not that you stop caring about others or that you become indifferent to their opinions. It's that you stop letting their opinions define you. You no longer live in fear of what others think. You stop bending yourself into shapes to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. Instead, you embrace the freedom that comes with being true to yourself. You start living for your own approval. You start making decisions based on your own values, not based on what you think others expect from you. And when you do this, you realize that you're no longer held back by the fear of rejection or the need to conform. This kind of fearlessness is what separates the weak from the strong. It's what sets you apart from the crowd. The weak are the ones who live in constant fear, who base their worth on the opinions of others, and who spend their lives chasing approval. But the strong are the ones who have learned to embrace themselves fully, who no longer fear being different, and who no longer fear rejection. They understand that true strength comes from being authentic, from standing firm in who you are, and from not allowing external pressures to dictate your life. Fearlessness is not about being invincible or emotionless. It's not about ignoring your fears entirely. It's about understanding that fear doesn't control you. It's about accepting that fear is a natural part of life, but not letting it dictate your actions or limit your potential. The more you spend time in solitude, the more you realize that fear is just a feeling, one that you can acknowledge but don't have to act on. You begin to see that fear is often rooted in uncertainty, in not knowing what the future holds. But when you become comfortable with uncertainty, when you embrace the unknown, fear starts to lose its power over you. You begin to move through life with a sense of calm and confidence, because you know that fear is just a passing emotion, not a force that controls you. This is the true essence of freedom, the freedom to be yourself without fear of judgment, rejection, or failure. It's about moving through life with courage, knowing that you don't need anyone's approval to feel worthy. You begin to realize that you're not defined by the roles that others expect you to play or the labels they place on you. You are defined by who you truly are, and when you embrace that, you stop living in fear of what others think. Instead, you start living for yourself, and in doing so, you start to create a life that reflects your authentic self. As you continue down this path, you also begin to notice something else. The more you embrace fearlessness, the more you attract people and opportunities that align with your authentic self. When you stop pretending to be someone you're not, when you stop hiding behind masks and facades, the right people begin to show up in your life. You start attracting those who appreciate you for who you truly are, not for who you pretend to be. And that's when you realize that fearlessness doesn't just free you from the grip of self-doubt. It also opens doors to meaningful relationships and experiences that wouldn't have been possible otherwise. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and it requires patience and self-reflection. But as you continue to walk this path, you'll find that the more you embrace solitude and fearlessness, the more your life begins to shift. You no longer live for the approval of others, and because of that, you start living a life that's truly your own. You begin to make decisions from a place of strength and authenticity, and in doing so, you create a life that aligns with your deepest values and desires. In the end, embracing solitude and fearlessness isn't just about overcoming fear. It's about embracing your true self. It's about accepting who you are, flaws and all, and moving through life with the confidence that comes from knowing that you are enough. When you stop seeking validation from others and stop living in fear of rejection or not fitting in, you begin to live a life that's free from the constraints that once held you back. You begin to step into your power, and that power is not something that can be taken from you. It's yours, and it's unstoppable. The longer you remain single, the more you begin to realize something profound. You're becoming unstoppable. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's not something you can easily pinpoint at first. But with time, as you grow and refine yourself, you begin to see a transformation unfold. You develop emotional control, clarity, high standards, and focus. These aren't just words on a page or abstract concepts. They're qualities that become deeply embedded in who you are. And it's this transformation, this evolution, that turns you into someone who is not easily swayed, distracted, or held back. You've learned to build your life around your mission and your purpose. Everything you do is now aligned with what matters most to you, and the distractions, once so tempting, no longer hold any power over you. You start to realize that you've been living your life for others for far too long. You spent so much time trying to meet their expectations, chasing their approval, and worrying about what they thought of you. But when you embrace solitude and focus on your own growth, everything changes. You stop wasting time on things that don't serve you, on people who don't value you, on activities that don't align with your goals, and on opinions that don't matter. With this clarity comes an immense sense of freedom. You no longer feel like you're chasing after something. You're not trying to impress anyone, nor are you seeking validation from the outside world. Instead, you begin to operate from a place of power, an inner strength that comes from knowing exactly who you are and what you're capable of. This transformation doesn't just change how you feel about yourself, it changes how you interact with the world. The more emotionally controlled and self-aware you become, the more resilient you are in the face of adversity. The things that used to rattle you, that used to shake your confidence, no longer have the same effect. You've built a mental and emotional fortress. When challenges arise, you don't react impulsively or get caught up in the chaos. You meet them with calmness and clarity. You have a clear vision of where you're going, and nothing can distract you from that path. In addition to emotional control, you've developed high standards for yourself. You no longer settle for mediocrity in your work or in your relationships. You know that your time and energy are precious, and you refuse to waste them on anything or anyone who doesn't align with your values. You've learned that the key to success, fulfillment, and happiness is in choosing wisely, choosing your relationships carefully, your projects thoughtfully, and your goals intentionally. You've stopped saying yes out of obligation or fear of missing out, and instead, you've learned to say no to anything that doesn't serve your highest purpose. This is where the power lies. You don't need anyone's approval because you've built your own sense of self-worth from the inside out. You know that you are capable, worthy, and deserving of everything you desire. And when you operate from that place, you attract the right people and the right opportunities into your life. The more you prioritize your own growth and mission, the more the world begins to reflect that back to you. You stop chasing after things that drain you or that aren't aligned with your goals. Instead, you start attracting people who respect your boundaries, who share your values, and who are equally focused on their own growth. The longer you stay single, the more you come to realize that the relationships you choose are no longer based on need, but on desire. You no longer look for someone to fill a void or to complete you. You're already whole, already complete. So when you choose a partner or a friend, it's because they add value to your life, not because you need them to define your worth. You've learned to choose people who challenge you, who support your growth, and who enhance your life rather than those who drain your energy or hold you back. The people you surround yourself with become a reflection of the person you've become: strong, self-sufficient, and unstoppable. This shift in mindset, this transformation into someone who operates from a place of power, has profound effects on every area of your life. Your career, your health, your relationships, they all begin to align with your new sense of self. No longer are you stuck in a cycle of self-doubt or fear of rejection. You approach every situation with clarity, focus, and confidence. You know that you are in control of your life and that the only limits are the ones you place on yourself. As you continue on this path, you begin to realize that you are capable of achieving anything you set your mind to because you've built the foundation of mental and emotional strength required to overcome any obstacle. When you reach this point, when you've developed emotional control, clarity, and high standards, you become a force in the world. You stop playing small. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You start to speak with conviction, to act with purpose, and to live with intention. Your energy is no longer scattered. It's focused, directed, and unstoppable. People start to notice the shift in you. They feel the power you radiate because it comes from an inner place of self-assurance and self-respect. You're no longer seeking anything from others. You've learned that everything you need is already within you. This shift doesn't mean that life becomes easier, but it does mean that you face challenges with a different mindset. You no longer fear failure because you've come to understand that failure is just another stepping stone toward success. You no longer fear rejection because you've learned that rejection isn't a reflection of your worth, but simply a part of the journey. You no longer fear standing out because you know that the path to success is paved by those who are willing to go their own way. As you continue to live from this place of self-sufficiency and purpose, you'll find that the world begins to open up to you in ways you never imagined. The opportunities, the relationships, and the experiences that align with your vision will begin to show up because you're no longer chasing them. You've become someone who attracts what they want, not because they need it, but because they've built themselves into someone who deserves it. And that's the true power of staying single for an extended period of time. It's not about avoiding relationships. It's about using the time to become the best version of yourself. It's about becoming so grounded in your own sense of self that you no longer need anything or anyone to complete you. When you become unstoppable, you don't need permission to live the life you want. You take it. As you continue to build the life you deserve, remember this: you are the creator of your own destiny. When you live with clarity, purpose, and the unwavering belief in your own worth, nothing can stand in your way. Keep moving forward, keep embracing your power, and never let anyone or anything dim your light. Thank you for being a part of Stoic Journal. If you're ready to take the next step in your journey, check out the video on the screen. Keep growing, keep evolving, and always stay true to yourself.